It's a Mongol Charan. Let's try to invoke a few blessings which are already there, but let's bring presence for us to catch those blessings that are already pervading the inner outer air, so we can become more and more aware of all the matchless gifts that are already knocking on our door, having entered our door, slip down behind the door in between, but we need to gain awareness and presence of that. Jnanatimirandasya Gyanam Janashalakaya Chakshudanmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namashrishtam Anumapi Satriputram Atra Swarupam Rupam Tasya Grajamarupurim Matarim Gastavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Maho Radhikamadhavasam prapto yasya pratita kripaya Sri Gurum tam natasme Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuvyaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Nikhila shrutimoli ratnamaladiti Nirajita padapankajanta Aji mukta kulairupashyamanam paritastvam harinam samshrayami Anarpitacharim chidat karunayavatirana kalu Samarpaitamunnatojvalarasam sabhakti shriyam Hari purata sundaradhyuti kadamba sandipita Sada hridaye kandare spurato vasachinandana Ajanulambita bhujjo kanakapadata Sankirtanai kapitaro kamalaya taksham Vishwambharo tuyavaro jugadharmapalo Mande jagat priyakaro karunavataro Ladini Shakti Swarupaya Gauranga Hridaya Cha Bhakta Shakti Pradhanaya Gadadhara Namostute He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Radhe Brindavana Shri Karunamrita Vahine Kripaya nijpadabja dasyanmayam pradiyatam Bhaktya vihinaya paradhalakshay Kriptascha kamaditarangamadhye Kripa maitvam sharanam prapanam Vrinde namaste charanarvindam Vrinde namaste charanarvindam Shri Sachidanand Gaur Hari Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Gaudiya Vaishnav Guru Parampara Ki Jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Samaved Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Sadhu Sangha Ki Jai, Gaur Premanand Hari Hari Bo. Pranam. Good morning to all of you. Good evening, good afternoon, depending the place, different timings, even different days. So, good Sunday morning from New Zealand. That's all I can say from this part of the world. I'm here, next room to Sitarani, who is there, over there, Ramachandraji cooking. And we are with a bunch of you all, Bhadra, next door, Patrak, a few meters away. So, excited to feel the presence of many of you in different ways, literally a few meters away, and if not, close to each other in heart terms. So I'm very happy to be again with you in our weekly satsang, and happy to not having to cancel satsang, although I have to cancel meeting over here in New Zealand. So we do not cancel our meeting here. but they understood, they agreed, and very happy to be here with all of you today. Yeah, we just yesterday arrived to the North Island, to a place very interestingly called, at least the airport called, and the city called Tauranga. So it's just a tweak of the first letter, and there you have it. Sriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Tauranga, Gauranga, there's not much difference. So it's a land blessed by the presence of many devotees, and yesterday we have a beautiful first sharing. Before we were in the southern island at Balaram's house with Ratirupa, Patrak, Bhadra visited us, a few other devotees. We were exploring, still further exploring evolution in divine love, which by the very nature of the theme is inviting for perpetual exploration. So we are trying to honor that. And yesterday we did a further exploration here with the local community about material energy, the sacredness of matter, things that we have talked many times, but it's a particular post that need to be particularly pounded more than once. And yeah, always new insects are coming by the grace of Mahaprabhu in terms of how to approach, Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, Maya Shakti, material energy, considered as highest Vaishnavi in the words of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So when you approach a Vaishnava sadhu with proper respect and aptitude, sadhus will reveal all their secrets upon us. So if we approach material nature with proper attitude, that highest Vaishnavi will reveal so many secrets about her beloved. So we were exploring those possibilities. And we continue to explore different possibilities with each one of you today. So you are more than invited to bring any topics, any themes, any explorations, questions that are setting you on a quest. We can explore it together, we can journey together. And you're invited for that to raise your digital hand or send a written message in the chat, though we will prefer raising your digital hand so we have more personal interaction, as well as those who can activate the camera. It's also favorable, anukul for bhakti, for our radically personal interaction. Of course, totally understand if it's not possible for any reason. So we'll begin with Avinandana from India, who raised her hand first, if I'm seeing correctly, and then Sam, Rasangi, Chandrika, and so on. Let's see. But we'll start with Avinandana. You can unmute yourself. Welcome.
Maharaj, if it's okay with you, I think I got a chance last week, so maybe I'll go last. If that's okay
As
with
you
you.
prefer. Okay. Let's give then place to Sam.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Obviously, it's good to see you, Maharaj, and everybody again. My question pertains to, like, what is free will when connected to previous life karma and the modes of nature acquired by a soul in their next life? Like, for example, if a living entity in their previous human life, abuses that life, but in their next life they acquire certain modes of nature that makes them inclined towards, like, just taking it to the extreme. For example, like if someone's a psychopath, a murderer, or like a rapist or something like that, like, is free will then, do they still have a field of opportunity to change, or is it that their nature affords them the predilection of how to express that free will? Like, they have a range of expression, but it's kind of hemmed in by that predilection to cause harm, deliberately. Because obviously there are people in prison who are psychopaths. I'm not judging that, but like their ability to feel is hugely dampened in terms of their nature and makeup. So I'm wondering, what in what sense how does free will play into that? Obviously, they have free will, but how does it play into it? Can they still decide not to do that, or is it that for whatever reason, they've contacted a future body and nature that doesn't afford them a huge range of positive choice? So I'm just wondering how free will works under those circumstances, because as the soul we have bright potential and darkest potential. So I'm wondering how free will operates within those kind of parameters if the soul is abused or caused harm in another life, and then in their next life they receive the equivalent discomfort or they cause discomfort to others. I hope that makes sense. It's just been like a burning question. Because obviously I know everyone is deeply loved by Krishna, but I'm just thinking about, and everyone's lovable, even if from a distance, as you say, Maharaj. So I'm just curious about how free will, how we should view that, how we should view free. Okay, there's a lot of questions getting mixed in. Just about how free will's connected to previous life karma and when we acquire contact certain modes of nature. Yeah. Thank you. It took ages to get that to sound even a little bit coherent.
You did get that. You did get there, Sam. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a typical burning question for many people, not only for you, and for many it's an ongoing burning. It's like a forest fire. And it's a good one in the sense that I wouldn't say we should settle for easy, quick answers and just say 2 words and solve next topic. Sometimes these are things that we need to sit with, right? Enough time to allow the actual reconciliation or the actual understanding to settle in deep inside within us. No, it's not like just give me the answer, give me the concept, and I no longer have that doubt. No, many of the things also have to be deeply are and have to be deeply experiential. So even if we receive a few words, which I'm trying to share now, still we all need to sit with these ideas and allow them to sink in properly. Free will, responsibility, choice, suffering, evil, karma, and if you want to bring more complexity to the conversation, like we had the other day in New Zealand, all these theodicy related topics. Now, if God is omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, why there is suffering in the world? I won't go there now. That's a separate conversation that we've had many times. But again, these are burning concerns that may need to be invoked over and over again quite often. So regarding your particular question, and in part you answered that in your own question, you brought some important points. How does free will operate? To begin with, yes, of course, free will, it's a more of a Western terminology. In Sanskrit, the word that generally is used, at least by Jiva Goswami in his Paramatma Sandarbha, is kartritva. Kartritva, which translates in English as agency. You may have heard that word. People have agency, which again, generally is translated as you have free will. Now, when we say free will, it's a tricky expression because free will makes us think that I'm absolutely free in my will. But the real question with free will is how free is my will? I mean, free will is always there. Agency is always there. As I said, Jiva Goswami refers to kartritva as one of 21 intrinsic qualities of the Jiva, inherent qualities of the Jiva. There are certain things that make a soul, so to say. Eternality exists. Anyhow, I won't go through each one of those, but one of those is kartritva, which means we have free will, we have agency, we have the capacity to choose, and of course that entails the responsibility of our choices. that's an intrinsic quality of who we are. We cannot exist without that. So in other words, the moment you cancel free will, you no longer have a jiva, which is not possible because the souls exist eternally. Now Krishna says in the 2nd chapter of the Gita, that which exists will always exist. That which does not exist will not exist. Will not. There's now we don't embrace the idea that things start to exist out of nothing, which sometimes in Latin is framed creatio ex nihilo. So the soul exists eternally, without beginning, without an end, which in itself is mind-boggling to think that you have no beginning, because we are generally conditioned by this linear thinking of beginnings and ends. So we exist eternally and eternally endowed with agency, with free will, with karma. That's who we are. You cannot separate that from who we are. So that just to pound that post enough to make it clear. It's not that at one point we have free will, at one point we don't have free will. Again, that's one thing, but also we are not, most of us are not in Golok Vrindavan, let's put it that way. So there is an influence of the modes, if we want to use that terminology, the material modes of nature. So our free will, which is there, is always there, becomes influenced by different influences. That's what makes the expression of our will sometimes being less virtuous, more virtuous. You gave the example of a rapist or an abuser. Still, that person has free will. At the same time, and this is an important point to bring into the conversation, again, there are many things at play at the same time. Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita asked to Krishna in the 3rd chapter, verse 36, if my mind is not failing today, what impels some person to certain sinful activities is if they were like forced, basically, like if they were forced to do so. And Krishna famously replies, Kamaisha Krudaisha Rajaguna Samudbhava, and so on and so forth. So he speaks about selfishness, self-centeredness. That's what takes us to act in ways that are less than virtuous. Kama. Kama means basically selfishness, self-centeredness. So, in other words, when we are covered to the point of living life from a self-centered perspective, that creates a certain influence and that creates a certain momentum that we may not be so much in full control of our faculties and decisions. Still, we have free will, but we have chosen to express it. You are asking about past karma, right? Like past decisions and bearing fruit in the present. So if in my past I've chosen many times, let's put it that way, a hypothetical scenario, I've chosen many times to walk the path of self-centeredness and selfishness and exploitation, somehow that creates a certain momentum that eventually, if I suddenly I'm faced with the opportunity of choosing something else, still that momentum, which is the consequence of my previous choices, almost forcibly will take me in the other direction. Still, I have free will. Still, I could choose something, but the momentum is like too much. No? It's like, I don't know, if you are coming down with it happened to me once, I remember. I was a child and I was riding a bicycle. And I was going like downhill, you say in English, very, very quick, very intensely. And the whole path converged into a big avenue where many cars were coming. And I tried to press the brakes, but they didn't work. Okay, my karma. Okay. My point was there was so much momentum in my downhill going that I couldn't just put my feet on the floor and I will gently, smoothly stop my ride. So I had to throw myself on the side of the road so I wouldn't be killed by the cars in the avenue. Right. So that was the only choice I had. No, in principle, I have free will. I could have chosen, I could have still tried and chosen to put my feet on the ground and gently, but the momentum was such that was not possible. Just to give some analogy from my childhood trauma with bicycles. So in the same way, we may have taken certain choices repeatedly and intensely that create some momentum. And again, that's part of free will. Free will implies consequences to your actions, and that creates a certain momentum. It doesn't mean that the free will is cancelled. You are damned for eternity to walk that particular path. But it creates a momentum, and many times, of course, unfortunately, that momentum gets reinforced by more bad choices or more bad whatever, bad company, hurt people, like sometimes they will say. And unless and until we find a particular alternative to that is inspiring, powerful enough to make us consider another choice, another trajectory, and even that may be difficult, but we may receive enough support. And again, I'm not saying that this happens in the same way for every soul, because at the end of the day, each soul is a unique individual with their unique trajectory. So it's not like you do like this and then you do like that and this happens for everyone. Each of us is a combination of so many samskars, so many impressions that we have acquired in the past. So each one will make their own choices in different ways. But at the end of the day, we all have free will. And speaking about different lifetimes, again, going to some hypothetical scenario, because that's the only thing we can do. I cannot tell you, if someone was a rapist in this life, next life, this will happen to every single rapist on planet Earth. We cannot say that, because each person is a unique combination of so many things, even on a karmic level. So each one will receive a very personalized, specific result to their actions. There's no two people receiving the exact same karma or acting the exact same way. So we cannot give like a universal scenario of karmic reaction for one particular action, because the action is not the only thing that is put on the scale. From which place the action comes, what is your level of knowledge? For example, scriptures will say, if you eat meat and you are aware of how damaging that may be for the animals to eat meat, that's one reaction. If you eat meat and you are completely unaware of the problems with eating meat, that's another reaction. So it's not that eating meat bestows the same exact reaction to every single person. It has all to do from which place we are doing something. And you can say the same thing with virtuous activities. You can give charity to someone with genuine empathy and compassion. And you can give charity to someone just for you to reinforce a superiority complex. That person depends on me. I'm so good. If it were not be for my help, no. So externally is the same act, but internally is a very different place from where the act is coming. And the same with spiritual activities, right? Externally may be saying Hare Krishna, but what's going on inside? Am I taking full shelter in humility and depending on divine grace? Am I using those set of words to impress others or whatever, who knows what? So Bhavagrahi Janardana, right? At the end of the day, Krishna is Bhavagrahi. He sees what's my bhava, what's my inner disposition of the heart. He's not taking in consideration any of the externals. He's Bhavagrahi, Saragrahi, essence seeker. So all this to say, again, each case is unique, but in a hypothetical scenario, you were saying, okay, someone is an abuser or whatever in a previous life. So we will consider that the law of karma. And again, when we say karma, we shouldn't be too sure that we already understand what we mean by karma and the law of karma, though they sound like, oh, that's the ABC lesson that you receive on day one in the temple. So let's go to the next topic now. There is so much complexity in all this. But first of all, the law of karma is not a cold, insensitive, impersonal agency, much less a chastising department. It exists with a deeply healing intention and reformation in terms of taking us toward Krishna, right? If we want to speak about karma as a law related to the material realm, okay, we already talked. Material energy is a Vaishnavi. So if karma, you want to connect karma with material energy, if Maya Shakti, material energy, is a Vaishnavi of the highest order, then her intention as a Vaishnavi is to make everyone closer to the divine, not away. So the law of karma will have that intention as one of the many laws in that particular realm. Or if you want to see it from the perspective, Paramatma, according to Jiva Goswami, is that form of the Godhead that presides over material creation. And Paramatma is in every heart. And Paramatma is Chaitya Guru. So Chaitya Guru means a guru in the heart. Guru means not an indifferent, passive guy in your heart, but a well-wisher. So if Paramatma is presiding over material creation and karma is one of the main laws in material creation, that's tied to Paramatma's Chaitya Guru disposition of trying to bestow the best for us. So all this to make it clear that karma is not just about getting punished and suffering and this or that, but trying to make us responsible, basically. Teach us the lesson of responsibility. You do something, you have free will. It's beautiful. That's how you can choose love voluntarily, but it has a price. And the price is not chastisement, it's just lessons in whatever direction you choose to act. So if someone behaved in a very selfish way, self-centered way, ignorant way, because at the end of the day, Jesus will say, Father, forgive them, they don't know what they're doing. It's basically to say, even the worst acts, there's a place to zoom out and to see those abhorrent things as a jiva deeply covered by avidya or ignorance. So there is a place to experience compassion. Maybe we need to take a considerable distance to see it from that perspective. But that's the teaching of the great masters. If you cannot feel compassion and understanding for any given case in any given situation, then you may need to further zoom out, sometimes zoom in, depending the case, to reach that healthy place of positive compassion. No? Which doesn't mean to approve crazy stuff, but doesn't mean also to judge everything and everyone according to the crazy stuff. So if someone did some crazy stuff in their previous life, considerable crazy stuff, I mean, we had a great potential for that, as I speak in my book, great ever-devolving potential. There in the next birth, speaking in those terms, incarnational terms, ideally you will be put in a situation, in the most ideal possible situation, so you can learn the lessons that you need to learn the most. I cannot tell you which will be the situation and the lesson because each case is unique. But that's how the law is operating, from that place of well-wishing and healing and reformation in the pursuit of, again, teaching us responsibility. So we are gradually trained and qualified for love, which is the greatest responsibility. The goal of life is to learn to love, and love is the ultimate responsibility. But for us to be able to embrace that final responsibility, we may need to learn responsibility on so many other levels. So karma is teaching that, teaching us to love, basically, teaching us to embrace responsibility. So that's an important point, that we need to trust the well-wishing spirit behind that particular agency. And understand that, we are always have free will. Again, sometimes we may be deeply covered and deeply carried by some momentum of previous actions, as it feels like there's no option, no choice. But still you're harvesting the fruits of your previous choices. And even while you may not be able to choose certain things, again, free will doesn't mean you can do anything and everything. It's not that I'm sitting here now and because I have free will, I can grow wings on the spot and leave this room flying. Not possible. No. It doesn't mean that I don't have any options to do anything. right? So even when we are conditioned by some previous choices and carried or even feel like dragged by the momentum of previous actions, and I cannot have a choice on this and this and that, still we have some level of choice on other directions. And by choosing those choices, gradually we may modify that momentum, we may modify the negative trajectory we may be in. It may take time because we have invested considerable time before going in the other direction. So I cannot, it's like if I don't know, I hurt you in our relationship and I hurt you a lot for 25 years. And I realize, for whatever reason, I realize this has to change. But I cannot expect in a 5-minute conversation to change completely the trajectory of our relationship. So it may take time because I've invested enough time in the other direction, created another momentum. So now we have to shift energy, invest time, but still the will is there, the possibility of choosing is there. So I think that's important to understand. Even when we find ourselves in situations where we will like things to be differently, or we will like to act differently, and for some reason we find it's not possible, okay, then look at what's possible. No, let's not like cancel altogether all choices, or I don't have a will, I don't have anything to do here. No, there you can always express your will in some way, even in the most covered of situations. No, even if you cannot control some, let's say, external situation that's happening to your life, you can always decide on some level, at least, how do I choose to react to this. No, for me, one of the big examples of that is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. No, he was in a big situation, Holocaust, where there was not much choice on the outside what to do here. So he took shelter in his inner resources, so to say. Okay, how do I choose to see this situation? How do I choose to interpret this situation? How do I find meaning and purpose in this external situation which seems to have no meaning and purpose whatsoever? And he showed that, oh, there's still so much meaning and purpose. So he fully resorted to his will, his internal will, to express it in a certain direction, to find meaning and purpose where it seemed to be none. So that's for me a very powerful example of how even in situations in life where we, for certain circumstances, are limited, are unable to do what we would like to do in a free way, free will, still there is some freedom that stays with us. And that's what he himself mentions in the book. That's one of the main passages and lessons. Still we have that fundamental moment of choice, that fundamental freedom to some degree or another that can always shift the trajectory for the better. And we should be taking advantage of that for sure. So I don't know if that helps some. You let me know if you have any further.
That helps so much. Probably one of my favorite things you said was the example of momentum, of you riding down the hill on your bicycle. And I feel like that's such a good example of karma, or like choice. And the choice is made so many times, it builds momentum. Yeah, thank you, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
So finally, I could justify my falling off of that bicycle. That hurt really bad. So I'm happy that now finally we are extracting some lessons from that day.
I'm glad you fell off the bicycle so you could be here.
Okay.
I'm not glad that you got hurt.
No, I understand. I know your good heart, so I know from which place it's coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so before moving to the next raised hand, which it will be Rasangi, since Avinanda now for her place to the end, if I understood correctly. Let's go for a few minutes to breakout rooms. This is our tradition at this point, tradition in the satsang, to spend a few minutes together, further turning reflections, exchanging ideas, and exchanging our personal experience in how we feel regarding our daily life, moments in our life where free will seemed to be absolutely cancelled, and how still we were able to find that entry point, moment of choice to shift trajectory, and in time looking back and realizing, yeah, that's possible. So Bhaktirasa will create the groups now. We'll invite you to join, all more than invited to join, hopefully, everyone. And if for some reason you cannot, spend some minutes ruminating of what we just shared. I'll do the same myself here. I'll see you in a few minutes for the next. Welcome you back. Hope you had a interesting sharing, and we'll continue with the flow of nourishing back and forth, Bodhayanta Parashparam Tusyanti Charamanti Cha, enlightening one another, nourishing one another, giving pleasure to one another in this exchange of hearts. And our next step will be to invite Rasangi to unmute herself and bring her offering to the table.
Okay, I'm unmuted, and I just want to say from our breakout groups, they're so rich, and they lead to further questions and exploration, which is wonderful and very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, that's why they have become part of the tradition, the satsang. We have to have breakout rooms. I'm trying to extend them as much as I can when I'm in 3D presence with people. Also, we have done that yesterday in New Zealand. Okay, each one, I wouldn't call them breakout rooms, but I send them in
Breakthrough.
groups of three to share. Yeah, it's important. It's nice.
I love it. Thank you so much. Because we
Thank
want
you.
to test ourselves. What am I really understanding? If I don't get it on a deeper level, it can't just be in my head. I have to get it and be able to implement it in my life for it to be able to manifest and be effective. So I appreciate those ways of getting us to internalize these things. Thank you.
I appreciate each of you being willing to join me in my social experiments online.
Very exciting. I could do this forever. I don't know what that means, but I could. Okay, so Maharaj, we have a reading group. We have a small EDL reading group, and we're loving it so much. And
Great. I didn't know about it. I came to know about that the other day. There are so many clandestine activities going on in Tadatmya Sangha that I'm not aware of. That's
and you're
interesting.
always willing to join us at any moment, any time, of course. But
Yeah.
we're discussing, we're going slow. We're still in the introduction. So on page 35 of the introduction, because it feels like we have to understand the basic concepts in order to, really understand it and be able to even speak it with conviction. We need to understand what it is we're talking about. So you talked about, I want to know a little bit about the difference between evolution and deep evolution. Deep evolution is a little bit of a new concept. I don't know if you made that up or that's somebody else's.
I made that up.
I love it because, okay, now really what I want to talk about is, okay, what I'm understanding, and we talked about this yesterday. So, and it's not an external force, it's coming from an internal flow of energy that is going toward ever greater unity. That's what you wrote in part on page 35. So, and I'm questioning about, maybe talk a little bit more about deep evolution and that ever greater unity. What do you exactly mean about that? Unity toward what? And then I know this is a lot and you don't have to cover it all today, but the interconnectedness between Lila and Vilas. Lila and Vilas is so interesting. Both are so important. And how do they play out? What is their relationship? And the Vilas, they said something about this movement with distinction. I'm not sure I understand that. But, and what is underlying that? I mean, I guess it all has to do with the goal is love, obviously, but the unity and the difference between evolution, deep evolution. Does that make sense?
There are like 17 questions there, Rasangi.
But it's all in 2 paragraphs, Maharaj. What can I say? Oh my.
My God. That's what you can say. Oh my gosh, that's what
Oh
we
my
can all
God.
say.
In 2
Yeah.
paragraphs. Okay.
I'm to blame. I'm to blame for writing those 2 paragraphs. I know. I know. I have to hold myself accountable. Let's try to say something. Yeah, let's try to say something. I mean, of course, I wrote the whole book trying to say something more, but I'll say something. So yeah, deep evolution is my own way as I try to explain the book of, because generally we think of evolution merely as biological evolution, and many times biological evolution for many seen as a random process that promotes that consciousness comes as a byproduct of matter, and for many that's evolution. And when I speak about deep evolution, it's now let's go to the evolution in divine love. Let's begin there. Let's speak about how to the depths of evolution. You know, how evolution, even if we want to consider the possibility of evolution in matter, which is of course a topic that I address in the last part of the book, let's begin with the foundational ground of evolution, which is love. How love evolves, how love grows, how there is a depth, further depth to the notion of evolution than the one we're accustomed to. So that will be the idea of deep evolution. No? There's evolution in the very depths, in the very core of reality, which is love. That's the center of reality. And from that, from the evolution of that core, of that love, there is evolution in God, so as I try to make the case in the 2nd chapter. And from that, there is evolution in our prospect for us as souls. And from that, in connection to all that, there is evolution in matter as well. But the evolution in matter is tied to the evolution of divine love, as we were expressing the other day and today. Material energy is a topmost Vaishnavi. So she's in service to Bhagavan, she's in service to love. So the more love expands, the more matter expands to accommodate the expansion of her beloved. So in service to God, in service to love, matter is evolving because love and God is evolving. So it's evolving in tandem to accommodate that expansion. So that a few words on deep evolution. And yeah, I mentioned I have the page here with me that you referred to, page 35 in the introduction, where I say deep evolution is a persistent movement toward ever greater unity. So again, everything is already in one sense united. Everything, there is some banda, there is connectedness between everything. But there is, if we agree on the premise of deep evolution, on the premise that things can always become better, let's put it that way, no? Like the famous song of Paul McCartney, though probably he didn't have deep evolution in mind, I don't know. But there's a song of the Beatles say, it's getting better all the time, right? It's getting better all the time. You know that one. So it's already great, it's already perfect. Om Purnamada Purnamidam is already complete, but it can get better all the time. So there's already unity, there's already connectedness, interconnectedness between everything, but it can always get better. So ever greater unity means that. Because ultimately the unity is to be expressed in the form of love. So love has no roof, has no ceiling. So love can always grow and expand. So there can always be a ever greater love. Therefore, there can be an ever greater unity in love. So, like again, I'm united with all of you, hopefully, with a tie of love and affection. But there can always be an ever greater bond. It's not like we are just settled. Okay, that's it. There's nothing else to explore, to go deeper in our relationship. No, there is ever greater prospect. So deep evolution for me invites for that sense of, okay, I'm already united. Intrinsically, everything is interconnected with Krishna. We are all interconnected. That's already happening, but it's getting better all the time. So we can always attain a very, very greater unity. But of course, that we have to do something for us to enter into that space, to become aware of that, to participate in it. Ultimately, reality is participatory. It invites us to participate in the dance, in the game of life. And that's when the word, I'm trying to connect all the things you mentioned somehow in a coherent flow. that's when the word lila or bilas come, which is a term. Both are, it's actually synonymous. Both are referring to the same thing. And lila or bilas, it speaks about our participation in a life of love. It's living life in a fully participatory way in the context of love. Again, lila means divine play. Bilas, as I referred to in my book, is referred to a distinctive sport or movement with distinction. Like when you say, okay, someone is a distinguished person. Oh, he's moving in a distinguished way. No, it means that person is moving in a particular way. Like Brahma Samhita will say, no, in the plane of love, every movement is dance, right? So that will be movement with distinction, with the distinction of love. Love is making that movement distinct, especially. No? And again, this is all Bhakti Rasamrita in the 1.125. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's comment on this verse, saying also, Bilas means ultimately beauty increasing at every moment. So that's the distinctiveness of the movement of love. It's, again, ever greater unity, ever greater love. So that's a little bit the connection between deep evolution, ever greater unity, the notion of lila, the notion of bilas as a participation in life from the deepest place possible of love. I like to share, since we are on that page, let's conclude sharing the quote that I put at the end of that page by Srila Bhakti Dev Goswami Maharaj, Ki Jai. He says, dynamic movement is a necessity in Lila. It cannot be eliminated. No? So Lila requires dynamism, movement, growth, ever-evolvingness. That movement always produces noble ecstasy. Okay, movement with distinction, a noble ecstasy, something new, nourishing every atom of the spiritual domain. At every point, that movement generates joy, which is infinite. Susukam kartam. That's how we are supposed to practice bhakti, joyfully. The organic whole in its fullness is ever new, producing unknown infinite bliss at every second. I know that each one of these lines you can sit with them and ponder them for eternity. This plane of joy moves automatically, and by dedicating ourselves properly, we will find ourselves in an ocean of sweet, soothing, and ever-increasing bliss. So again, it's poetic. We need to be poetic to speak about this. And these are only words. Of course, I don't want to downplay the words of someone like Srila Siddhar Maharaj, but my point is, still there are words that it's a finger pointing to the moon. In other words, these are words, of course, coming from a place of deep realization, in the case of Srila Siddhar Maharaj, but that is pointing for us to do the necessary for us to have our own realization of this. And it may take time, and I know that some of these words or some of this articulation and language may be new. Some of us may not be accustomed to speak and think in this language. It's like learning a new language. It has been for me as well, of course. And it's beautiful. It's exciting. It may take time because it's like, what do you mean by that? Oh, I'm not accustomed to express myself in those terms. I'm not accustomed to think in ever-evolving terms. What do we mean by ever greater unity? What do you mean by movement with distinction? I mean, I really appreciate that you are bringing all that, Rasangi, in a very unfiltered way. Like, what do you mean by that? I don't get. I can say, well, I think I mean this, but at the same time, despite I wrote those words, I'm still figuring them out, right? It's not that because I wrote the book on the topic, I know it all and I fully realize what I'm talking about. That's the humbling nature of this. I write something, I publish a book, then I talk on the book and I realize, wow, there's so much more to what I think it was, and we all remain humbled in the face of ever-evolving love, right? So, yeah, it's humbling, and we remain in that place of students forever, learning this new language. And at the end of the day, love is the final language, and love is ever-evolving. So, if love is the final language and love is ever evolving, you never end up learning that language. You are always taking new lessons to learn how to speak it better, so to say. And that's the language of the spiritual world, right? Sometimes they're about to say, which language do they speak in Golok Vrindavan? In Nitya Navadvip? Do they speak Bengali in Nitya Navadvip? Do they speak Brajabhas in Vrindavan? We could make so many arguments for that, but at the end of the day, the language is love. And sometimes they don't even say a word, and so much is being conveyed. Like you hear these different descriptions with, I don't know, Sri Radha is sitting with Krishna at her feet, and she required certain arrangement, and she just need to throw a silent glance, and that's it. There's a whole book in that silent glance, and all the manjaris caught that, and they know perfectly what to do. There's no need to invoke language, because love is automatically putting everything in sync. So just a movement, a silent glance, a drop of perspiration, whatever minimum hint, it conveys so much content, because everyone is so attuned with the language of love. But it's ever evolving, so it's ever new, and everyone is willing to learn the next new expression of that language, the next new step into the dance. So that's the nature of love. It keeps everyone humble forever. That's why, again, and I say that many times, and I will continue to say that, that's why Sanatana Goswami says between prema and dainya, between love and humility, are cause and effect of one another. Because love in its ever-evolvingness humbles everyone that is in contact to love. Because by definition, you are forced to remain a student forever. You have always some new step of dance to learn, some new articulation of love to learn. So you can never colonize love. You can never say, I got it, I know it, now I've reached it. So the more the love, the more the humility, the more the humility, the more the love, ad infinitum. So some thoughts, Prasangi. It's my distant participation in the EDL reading group, somehow trying to be part of it from this place.
I know we know we're going to bring it all to you on the next day. We meet on Fridays. We could bring it on Saturdays. But I have
No pressure, Maharaj, no pressure.
no pressure, no pressure. No, we know because we're questioning in kind of eagerness to learn, and we feel like Krishna's going to bestow his blessings and help us to learn.
That's great. I'm really humbled by what you are doing, actually, because again, that's for me the ideal. It's not that you write the book just to write the book, and okay, you read the book, you throw it, okay, next book, but okay, let's explore it, let's go through it, let's read it together, let's churn it, what's coming from that. That's how, and I'm not talking about my books, just how ideally we should approach the study of reality, the exploration of life, of love, like with eagerness, with passion, in sadhu sangha, in good company, churning together comprehensively.
I love that. Maharaj,
it takes a life of its own. Sorry.
There's one more part, though, to complete this, if you don't mind. So when I was thinking of Vishwanath Chakraborty's conception, I was thinking, well, intention. Where is it part having an intention? What part of this is having an intention? Well, what is our part? And then you talk about it right in the next page. When we must actively cultivate a conscious of being in evolution. To genuinely participate, we must become deeply aware that everything is in a state of ongoing development, forever evolving toward greater fulfillment. So that seems to be what it takes, is that we let go of the static things, the canonized things, and open up to the moment, I guess, to be able to participate in this. Right.
You're getting it, Prasangi. Good.
All
yeah,
together.
it's very important. Again, not to speak about it, not to read about it only, but just to, but only also to live it, you know, to live life as if all this is true, because it is. Things are moving, things are expanding, things are evolving toward ever greater unity and greater fulfillment, however you may like to speak about it. So to live my life from within that framework, right? Because we all live our life from certain framework, right? We all do our thing with some particular conceptual orientation. In other words, we all engage in avideya from a certain sambandha, if I have to use Gaudiya Vaishnava terms. No, we all do what we do from a certain basis of knowledge that informs our actions, and that takes us to prayojan, to relish a particular set of fruits. So it's so important to gain, to obtain the proper sambandha, the proper foundation, the proper orientation, because that will determine and define how we engage with reality, how we move in the world, how we act, how we believe our practice. And that in turn will determine what's the prayojan, what's the result, what's the fruit. So it all begins with sambandha. It all begins with what's the framework of your life. You know, how you are seeing things, how you see yourself, how you see the world, how you see God, how you see everyone else. And it's not just one word to reply to that. There's so much to say. Ideally, all our teachers have emphasized we need to gain a proper, deep, comprehensive education in sambandha, and when that foundation building blocks are there, everything else naturally follows. Proper avideya, proper way of living your life, of leading your practice follows, and the fruit of that naturally follows. But if the proper sambandha is not in place, we struggle in our practice, in our lifestyle, so many things get in the way, we don't feel the fruit is coming, the fruits are more bitter than sweet, blah, 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 etc., etc. And many times all that should point back for us to re-examine what's my sambandha. Sometimes we question too much our avideya, my practice, how I'm practicing, how I'm living life, and many times what I should question is my sambandha, with which orientation I'm doing what I'm doing, with which idea, from within which framework I'm doing what I'm doing. And many times we need to deconstruct false narratives, partial, toxic narratives that have oriented our journey for decades again, and we may have gained a wrong momentum, going back to the bicycle example and the momentum. We may need to change that momentum, so we change the trajectory. So it may take time, but that's the glory of being a sadhaka. That's the glorious effort of a practitioner. So here we are, honored to be with all of you here on the journey.
And by the way, another thing is that we can't do it alone. So thank you so much. We can't do this alone. I see that when we together, all the things kind of fall into place. More vision, more healing, more validation, like on the journey, together.
Yeah. So as you say, thank you very much. And that's something I like about English. Not everything I like about English, but one thing is that when you say you, I can speak about you as an individual, but you as a group. So that no, it's not different in one sense. No, I'm not different from. I do not exist in isolation. Your you is not separate from the collective you. No, so when we say you, even if I'm talking to one person, I should bear in mind that one you exists in the context of the bigger you, the micro you and the macro you. So, thank you. And thank you, Rasangi, also. Okay, so where to go? Do you feel like breakthrough rooms, or you feel like you want a break from the breakout rooms? And we go to the next one. You decide this time.
Breakout rooms.
I think Chandrika was next, but
Yeah, we'll go there also. We'll go there. I'm not forgetting, and Abhinandana, but I'm just asking. We may skip some breakout rooms. That's what I'm asking. This is the moment. We were asked to speak about free will. Please use your free will. Don't be codependent.
Carry on.
Carry on. Sam, Jamuna say carry on, and you say free will. What to do now? Dilemma.
I say carry on then.
Okay. You have used your free will properly. Okay, we'll skip breakout room in this one. We did a considerable churning now. And we invite next Chandrika to unmute yourself if you have any topic, question, sharing, whatever you would like to bring to the table today. Welcome.
Thank you, Maharaj. So this has been separation week. I wrote a pathetic poem from Krishna's perspective and separation from Radha. And then yesterday was my Gurudev Narayan Maharaj's disappearance day. So I was like alone in my kayak in separation, and then with a group just sharing memories, and we were all in separation. And you know, I think about my time with my Gurudev when I was in his presence. His presence was so overwhelming. There were just no problems and no questions. And so it was just sort of all about poetry. And so I have questions I never asked him, and I have one today, a question I never asked him, and I also have a poem. And of course, there's not time for both, but I can go ahead and ask the question if you'd like.
Okay.
So when I very first met him, it was at the airport in Maui, and he said, "Have I met you before?" And I said, "No, Maharaj, I'm meeting you for the first time." And he said, "I've known you for a very, very, very long time." And he just looked in my eyes and stole my heart in that moment. And I just thought from that, I must be very, very, very foolish to kind of still be here. You know, that was my orientation. And I would love to hear from your perspective what that might mean and why I'm still here. Like, why am I still here?
Well, thank you for bringing your sharing today, and also sharing the separation mood you have been in the recent days. And of course, just to clarify, and you know that, but just to clarify to all of us, with myself and to myself included, that separation is never a bad thing, right? It's not a bad word. It's not like an undesirable experience. It's not something that let's try to avoid it as much as possible. It's not like also we will look for it in the midst of union. But sometimes that's required, as we were talking the other day. For example, when Krishna was united with the gopis in the Rasa Leela, they were in union, right? They were dancing, singing, celebrating, and suddenly he disappeared. And he creates separation for so many, with the exception of Radha. But then he disappears from Radha as well. So he creates separation for her as well, in the midst of union. So that's an interesting point of how sometimes, even if we are not looking for separation in the midst of union, separation is required and has a purpose to enhance the next union, the reunion. And that's basically what Krishna tells the gopis when he returns. Like, I disappear because I love you, and what I can give to someone I love is for their love to be increased. That's the best gift. And that happened while in the separation. So separation in big part has this big, powerful function of like thickening whatever is already in our heart, making it thicker, more condensed, more deep, more elaborate, more internalized. As they will say in English, separation makes the heart grow fonder, right? Not for the sake of separation, it's not for the sake of separation, tries to remain eternal in separation, but it's taking reunion to another level, and against separation, and against reunion. So it's an ongoing interplay of these two. Srila Gaur Govinda Maharaj will speak the embankment of union and the embankment of separation, like these two movements of the sea, which are both required for movement to be there. So that to begin with, and just because yeah, I was inspired and touched by your words and separation. And regarding your meeting with your Guru Maharaj and the words he shared, of course, and you mentioned that there were some questions that you didn't feel like asking him in his presence, physical presence in this world, because his presence in itself was probably saying a lot, so there was no space for other things. You were just receiving what was coming. And of course, I wouldn't like to, how to say, I will try to say something, but for me it's delicate because I don't want, I'm telling you what your Gurudev meant at that moment. No? Who am I to dare to say that? No? I could share some thoughts, but at the end of the day, it's something deeply between you and your Gurudev. So again, I personally like to be quite careful in me not trying to appear like a translator, so to say, of what's going on between two other people, what to speak between guru and disciple, what to speak regarding some exalted teacher who is no longer among us. So we kind of just send him a message and ask him, actually, what do you mean by saying that? So I don't want like to give any, sound like I'm giving the conclusive intention of why this happened, whatever, some decades ago. No, that's subtle. So I hope you understand that. But of course, I can imagine how moved you were when you heard about that, especially with deep glancing, reaching the depths of your heart. And yeah, I know you for very, very long time. Again, who am I to say what a particular person said, had in mind, had in heart, were saying that? There's the possibility. I mean, I can just throw some possibilities. Again, I don't want to sound like this is what he actually meant. I mean, that will be not only bold, but it will be crazy of me to try to say something like that. Of course, one literal reading of that could be okay. That particular personality who told you that literally knows you for many lifetimes and could have been your teacher for many lifetimes. It's possible, no? It's possible. Of course, then it comes the complexity that some disciples may think, okay, no, maybe that guru came from the spiritual world, so he was not on this planet in previous lifetimes. I was, so that's not possible. Or some others will say that that person may be an enlightened being for many lifetimes, and out of compassion remains here accompanying disciples for many lifetimes. That's also a possibility, more like a bodhisattva type of template, no? Like those great personalities who are enlightened, but choose to remain in samsara externally out of compassion for suffering souls and so on. Again, that's another possibility. And also another possibility that comes to my mind and heart now is, of course, when we hear, also we are when we sing, for example, Guru Bandanam but Narottam Das Thakur, no? At one point there is a part in the song that the disciple, I mean Narottam Das in this case, he's singing, "Oh Gurudev, you are my Lord, life after life." No? So, and there are different readings of that by different Vaishnava acharyas. Doesn't mean, for example, let's say that, and I hope you understand my point. Let's say that one is a practitioner. Someone asked once Srila Siddhar Maharaj, okay, if I'm practicing sadhana bhakti, this is my first life practicing bhakti. Hypothetically, we don't know, but let's put it that way. So how long will it take for me to attain divine love? And he said 2-3 lifetimes, right? Rupa Goswami says in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in order to relish bhakti rasa, you need to have some scars from previous lifetimes to reach that level. So he's trying to make it clear, this is not necessarily a one lifetime project. Again, we cannot put it in calculator and a number, but it's like a general template. So my point is, if I'm practicing in this lifetime, I have a particular guru, everything's fine with that personality. And then I consider that person like to be a pure devotee. So I'm assuming that person, after passing Nitya Lila Pravishta, it's entering the Nitya Lila. But I'm not there yet, so I may require a few other lifetimes. Will that guru, if that guru is in Golok Vrindavan, come down to accompany me? Or may I be connected with some other guru in the next lifetime? Again, these are possibilities, and we cannot get too heady about it also, right? We shouldn't get too much stuck in our head, because I can understand if someone has a genuine connection with someone, you may want to keep that connection for eternity, right? That's the idea. And there should be no problem in that. Even, I will say that, even if, let's say, and I'm not talking to you, Chandrika, I'm talking in general, even if your guru, you can say, okay, that guru is in Golok Vrindavan now. In my next lifetime, I need to come to Earth again to learn a few more lessons. That guru may not be on Earth available as a guru, but maybe in Golok Vrindavan. Still, if I have a genuine feeling of serving that person in eternity, there is no obstacle to that. No, that will be perfectly arranged. And for me, here comes the point in connection to your question, that another option could be, and here it's me just throwing ideas, I'm not defining anything. When your Gurudev say, I know you for many, many lifetimes, if you choose not to see that literally, like he was for many previous incarnations my guru or whatever, which could be the case, again, I'm not discounting that, but one could say Guru Tattva, the principle of Guru Tattva spoke through the individual Guru Tattva, no, the Vyasti Guru, the Samasti Guru, the universal Guru Tattva, Krishna himself spoke through the Vyasti, through the individual, saying, I've been there with you for so much long time. Because in principle, Krishna is in our heart, as I said before, as Chaitya Guru. That means he has been with us for a long, long time, literally from time without beginning. So sometimes the guru, who is the agent that is representing Krishna, may be inspired by Krishna to speak in that way. It doesn't necessarily mean that maybe literally that person was my guru for 300 lifetimes before, because that may be confusing. Oh, has he been in this world for so long? Or why I'm still here as a disciple? I'm not learning my lessons, whatever the case. So one other option is that, like Bhadra is mentioning, I'm seeing the comment, Guru is the external manifestation of Paramatma. So that's why I'm saying Paramatma Chaitya Guru is internally, and genuine Guru, Sadguru, is an external expression of the internal Guru. So the internal Guru is there forever, it's in the heart of everyone from time immemorial. And sometimes that internal Guru speaks through the external Guru, so to say, making this point that in one sense, we have always been, in one sense, you could say you've never been deprived of Guru, because Krishna has been always in your heart. No? Like to give assurance and to give support. And now, in that particular case, again, I don't want to sound like I'm reading too much into the situation that you just shared, Chandrika. But one could say, in that very first meeting with with your Gurudev in this lifetime, Krishna in the heart is inspiring. Okay, I've been with you for a long time, and now you are meeting me in this particular form, in this shape of the external Guru. After such a long journey, here we are, something like that. Like to create that sense of awareness and connection and presence, and appreciation of the journey that has taken you to that particular point at the feet of your Gurudev, right? So again, maybe all that came naturally by inspiration. It was not something that your Gurudev like had scripted before meeting you. I'm sure it was not the case. Like I will meet this lady for the first time, and I will say this, and that will create an impact in her. I'm sure that was not the case. So that was just a very inspired flow that Krishna, the original Guru in the heart, manifested through him. That's one possibility. To be honest, the one, and I'm most inclined to interpret what you shared, but you are absolutely free to, of course, to take it how it resonates best for you. And the last thing will be, because you ask, okay, if I've been, if he has been with me for many lifetimes, whether literally your Gurudev, if you want to take that more like Krishna in my heart as a guru, why I'm still here? Well, we could all ask that same question, why we are all still here. And it's a delicate question in the sense that, I mean, it's okay to ask the question, but we have to be careful not to do it from a place of like excessive toxic guilt and shame, and we start like bashing ourselves. But for me, it speaks just about going back to free will, right? To the first question, like how much we are given an option and how much we can really choose in an opposite direction so much and gain such momentum that we can remain in that momentum for a long time, a momentum of choosing not Krishna, right? It's possible. Again, you can see that in one lifetime. One lifetime can be like a model for many lifetimes. Like one lifetime is kind of a micro sample of many lifetimes. So in one lifetime, we can see people who really live the whole lifetime very covered in avidya and living a very, how to say, blind lifestyle, exploitative, selfish, the whole lifetime almost. No? So that kind of shows in a sample of one lifetime how you can exactly do the same thing for many lifetimes. And again, not to end up playing a blame game, but just to learn about the, okay, if I really, to learn about the responsibilities for my actions. And now that I'm gaining awareness of that, take the right choice, take the right path, and try to change the trajectory. That again, many times we receive that change of trajectory, that inspiration for a new momentum by contact with great personalities, which somehow, by their own free will, by their own sweet will, they become present in our life and they disrupt, so to say, the particular momentum we were in a material covered circumstance, and suddenly we are, oh, no? Even if it's one moment, that shifts the trajectory. Even if it takes time for us to make sense and to really understand what was given to us by them, still that already sets us on a different trajectory. That's why these verses will say, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Ko Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhiho. Even in one, we were talking about that the other day. This verse says, in 1 nanosecond, you can attain all perfection in Sadhu Sangha. Doesn't mean that all perfection comes right there on the spot, but that one moment of meeting with genuine sadhus can shift the trajectory, and all perfection is already on its way. It may take some time, but from the perspective of eternity, it's already there, basically. Jiva Goswami gives the example of piercing a set of petals, like flower petals, with a needle. So actually, you are piercing one after another, after another, after another. But when you do like this, it looks like, wow, it was just one shot, all at the same time. But it may take some time. But from the bigger picture, it's like you're already there. You're going through that. You're on the other side. So that's what genuine sadhu sangha creates. Even if it may take some time to pierce the petals, the layers, you're already on that new trajectory, on that new momentum. If we do not oppose that, if you don't become, I don't know, violent toward bhakti, which hopefully we are not, we are gradually being smoothly, gently carried by that wave of mercy. And all success is warranted, right? That's why so many statements in the scripture, there's no loss nor diminution in this practice, all success is warranted. Name bhakta pranashati, my devotee never perishes, this or that, like providing reassurance, support, hope. You're already on the path. It's just a matter of time. And while it's a matter of time, the path is so enjoyable. So there's not even a need to be concerned or obsessed when I'll get there, because in one sense, as I like to say, you're already there. We're already doing bhakti, and we want to do bhakti forever. So yeah, all this to say, no need to torture ourselves thinking why so many lifetimes in the past I didn't get there, or I didn't. There are so many reasons to celebrate and to be grateful and to be moved for what has come to us. So we have lots to do to honor the gift that already came to our lives. So we don't have time to lash ourselves with toxic guilt and shame from the past. We can be sober, look back for a moment and be sober at, wow, okay, if I choose in the wrong way, I can really get into a trajectory in that direction. That's a sobering lesson. Thank you to all my unlimited previous lifetimes for giving me that lesson. I'll take that lesson from now onward and try to live a very, healing, healthy, deep, responsible life. With my ups and downs, still happens, but with so much grace that already came. So those are some thoughts. I don't know if that helps.
Very much. And the dance of focus and distraction,
Yeah, it's a dance. Let's dance. Like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, when he speaks about Ganatarala, describing Anishtita Vajana Kriya, unstable bhakti, Ganatarala means like thick and thin. Like it will be a way of saying focus, distraction, no? Like up and down. But he describes all that in the context of describing bhakti. So he's saying this is a symptom of the journey. This is meant to happen at some point of the journey, and that confirms that you are on the journey, you are on the sacred path. But you are to continue moving past that particular landscape of the journey, but that's a certain landscape that at one time will come and we have to go through. It may take time, we'll spend some time there, but it's all happening in the context of walking the sacred path of bhakti. So even that dance of focus, distraction, up and down, thick and thin is happening in the context of bhakti. So it's glorious. Not to justify that in that way and remain there forever, but just to appreciate. Okay, my ups and downs are contextualized by bhakti. So there is some support, there is some blessing, even in those embarrassing moments of focus and attention, ups and downs. We shouldn't lose sight of the bigger picture. Bhakti is holding all of that. It's the bigger vessel holding space for our ups and downs, devotional service. So it always gives us a reason to be grateful, to be humbled, to celebrate. And that's why we feel we should get together every weekend minimum to remind ourselves of all the things that celebrate together. So thank you, Chandrika, for bringing your sharing, your offering. I like to hear your poem, but I don't know how. If it's not that extremely long, just thinking about Abhinandana and her question and breakout rooms that we'll like to invite.
What time are we? What time are we over? It's I could start it and finish it next time.
It's a 25-page poem. It's a 1-page poem. It's a 5 because there are poems and poems, right?
It's this, and this, like 2.5 pages. But the pages are not full pages because they're kind of.
Okay.
I can ask it next time. Maybe we should hear.
I think we have time. Have time. Move forward, Chandrika, please. So please, all of you, enter into poetry mode. Hopefully you're already there, because all of we are talking is poetic in so many ways. So now we will further pound the post by, hearing poetry about separation, if I'm correct, right?
I was reading a book by Banu Maharaj, and it was Winter. So this is a Winter's Lament.
Okay.
Radha, I reach for you, but all I feel is the fluttering of wings of a swarm of bees, and I hear their intoxicated humming drone as they descend on me from the trees. I feel my response drumming in the throne of my heart. I don't understand why we must be apart. The bees refuse to sting my fevered form, but I am stung by Cupid and so forlorn in your absence. My friends try to pacify me. Madhu Mangala attempts a joke, but they cannot understand the depth of my praying, stoked with the intensity within I live. My flute is chill to my touch, and I imagine you must be cold. I yearn to enfold you in my warmth and calm your trembling shivers with all the quivers at my command. It's winter, and lovers need to hold each other close. I am morose and cannot stand to know that piercing, shrill voices now form a wall between you and I. Tears come to my eyes as they complain of our attraction and note each infraction of their rabid rules as they spout shame. When I know our love is the purest nectar in all the worlds, and your name and fame are all my lips and tongue wish to proclaim. Parrots and peacocks, rabbits and deer gather around to comfort me with their deep affection, offer a temporary distraction. Yet again, my heart hones on the sharp pain of searching for you in vain, with its pointed predilection to hanker for a glimpse, and dare, I hope, a touch. Yet cursed hope, if it leads me to disappointment that burns like fire, chokes like smoke. Where is Vrinda, Tungavidya, even one of your sakis, to bring me news of you for which I thirst in my parched state? I berate those who cradle me and push them away. I want Radha, I say, and repeat as if repetition is my friend and will make amends, create a new trend that will unite us soon. Before I swoon at even the subtle aroma of jasmine, I detect and lose my senses. My hands shake and quake, and I almost drop the bamboo reed that is my flute. Yet I clasp it and wonder at how I can hold on and bring it to my lips. Envy of the gopis. I remember it all. Every pastime flashes vision of near forgotten joy as I play a begging tune, so full of grief and sweetness. The stones melt to liquid that imprints my feet, then ripples with the power of this pathetic melody, calling and crying from my besieged heart to my lips and what breath remains. Radha, please, is my message in music that surrounds and astounds, then claims the attention of all that moves and stuns even the bees into ecstatic trance. The breeze and the withering leaves of the trees plays a harmony, and I feel a spark of confidence, a chance that no one can resist my love as it pours like a fountain of lava to warm winter's chilled earth and brittle wind. If only to gift you, Radha, some warmth through what distance remains, and I pull on the jeweled golden chain that links my heart inexplicably and inextricably to yours.
Thank you, Chandrika.
Wow.
Deep gratitude. Those words.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your heart with us in this sensitive days, sensitive season. Moved and humbled by that, and maybe we can spend a few moments in breakout rooms as continuing to internalize and process what we have shared in this recent section, inspired by the recent poetry, whatever comes to your heart regarding this recent discussion. And we'll back in a few minutes for inviting Abhinandana to make her offering and then put the sharing to rest for this week. Welcome back. Hoping you had inspiring moments together. By looking at your faces, it seems that you did, so glad that was the case. And we'll try to wrap up our meeting today with one more sharing by Abhinandana. So please feel free to unmute yourself. If you say a question, a topic, some exploration you'd like to share, we have a few more minutes to explore together.
Pranam Maharaj. I was just I had once asked you about the path of seeking truth. And the answer that you gave that day was, I felt very wholesome, and it had many sections that said on a further exploration. And I've been trying to digest it little by little. I mean, it's a lot. And so I've been thinking about sincerity for the past few weeks, and you keep mentioning it every time, like even when you told me, even when you were giving me the answer, or even in your classes. And I was trying to observe what it is, and it feels like it's from what I think it's a more of an internal shift. But I just want to hear from you, because you say that that's the most important thing, especially if you're new. So please, will you?
Share some thoughts of why sincerity is so important?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. I have to be very sincere when speaking about sincerity. Well, there are so many ways to speak about it. And of course, it's important. I wouldn't say only for the newcomers, so to say, but for each one, for all of us, all throughout the whole journey. And this is some of these words that sometimes they can be used loosely, and we don't know what we are talking about when saying be sincere. And it can have so many expressions according to where we are in the journey. So that's important to how to acknowledge the corresponding expression of sincerity that corresponds to my stage of the journey, right? Because what it means to be sincere at one time of my life, it may not be the same. Sincerity may demand for certain form of sincerity at another time of my life. So, but just in terms of definition, let's begin defining sincerity in a negative way. In negative, I mean indirect way. You can say sincerity is the unwillingness to deceive yourself. One way of speaking, right? Sometimes it works better for us to hear what something is not. So sincerity is not cheating yourself. So therefore, sincerity implies a positive willingness to not deceive yourself. No, like a concern, a healthy concern. I don't want to deceive myself. I don't want to to betray myself. And sincerity also will immediately say, though actually probably I'm doing that quite a lot still. And sincerity will also say, we'll try to normalize that so we don't go crazy and neurotic about how much we still betray ourselves. Right? Sincerity also tries to bring acceptance and normalizing of certain things, not to the point of complacency, not to the point of I don't have to change, that's who I am, no, but also understanding, as we talk these days today, okay, I may be carrying some momentum from previous lifetimes, that there are some pretty ingrained patterns of self-deception that I cannot even see yet, that I absolutely take as this is the core of my personality, and probably that's a layer of self-deception. And I'm not able to let that go because I'm so identified with that if I let that go, I will feel like I'm dying, that I'm stopping existing. So and that may take time for us to acknowledge, to recognize that what I thought it was me, it was a layer of self-deception. It may take lifetimes. Not Srila Sridhar Maharaj once said to remove one layer of ego may take one lifetime. One layer. Again, not to make anyone feel like disappointed or bad, just to say it requires some intentional focus also and concern. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen all automatically. Well, Mahaprabhu says Chetadarpanam Arjanam, right? First effect of chanting, of engaging in Nam Sankirtan, he describes 7 layers there. First verse of Shikshastakam. First one is Chetadarpanam Arjanam, which can be translated, the name of Krishna translates. Name of Krishna cleanses, the mirror of the chitta, of the subconscious mind. Great, Ki Jai. Parambijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtana. But what are the implications of that? It means the name comes like a broom, a sacred broom, starts to clean the dust, and the dust starts that was very much fixed for lifetimes, probably without being touched or moved. Now you pass the broom and the dust starts to be seen for what it actually is, right? Like imagine again, like the example I give is you enter a room that was not cleansed for eons. So the whole room is gray to the core. And the dust and the dirt is so ingrained that you think it's actually painted that color. So you don't realize that's dirt and dust. You think, oh, that's the room's identity, right? Room's color. Till you pick a broom and you do like, you move it one moment and then you have like an apocalypse of dust around you. But you are on the cleaning process now. It's glorious. You are getting somewhere, though it feels like I'm dying and suffocated by dust. But now you are realizing, oh, it was not paint, it was dust. It was dust. You are seeing things for what they are. So in the same way, we may start the practicing, and the name and the practice and everything we start to clean the mirror of the subconscious mind. So what we thought was our identity starts to show itself as dust, right? As something that is not, as an upadi, as a limiting designation, as a covering, whatever you may like to call it, as not who you actually are. And you have, what do you want to do with that? You want to take that dust and put it back into its place and try to force that to be your identity? You want to deceive yourself? Or do you want to confront the dragon that is in front of you now and invites you to die, to live, to die to an older version of you that thought it was this, and now you are realizing, oh no, that was dust. Then who is behind the dust? How can I see the mirror that actually sheds light on who I actually am? So all this in the context of sincerity, right? Don't lose sight of the main word we are exploring here. So sincerity is the willingness to enter into that journey, to be shown what needs to be shown at this stage of my journey. The willingness to be shown all that and not to hide, right? Not trying then to hide all the things that have been shown to me, right? Because I'm shown some things, I can try my best not to see them, and I can try my best not to for others not to see that. And that's another meaning of the word sincere, right? The very word sincere comes from the Latin sincera. No? Those who do not speak Spanish, I'm writing the word there. Sincera, which also is in Spanish somehow. And that comes from the time of the Roman Empire, where there was this huge markets. They will sell big blocks of marble for artists to carve upon it. So some blocks had crackings, and some section of the market would hide the crackings with white wax. So you didn't see the crack. You just saw a perfect white marble block. And you say, I want that. That's perfect. Then you start to carve, and when you hit the cracking that was behind the wax, the whole thing spoiled, breaks. Then there was another section in the market that they were more honest, more sincere. They will sell the marble block, and you will see the crackings. So you will work around the crackings. The crackings will become part of the piece of art. And they will say, this is without wax. How to say without wax in Latin or in Spanish? Sincera. Sin means without, cera means wax. So the implications of being sincere means I'm showing up without hiding my crackings. No, I'm acknowledging them. When those are shown to me, I'm not running away from them. I'm not hiding from them. I'm not denying them. When others saw that, when I see that in others, I don't start to play mask games. I don't inaugurate the mask festival Masking. That's why Mahaprabhu used the word of the example of the mirror, marjanam, darpana. Sorry, mirror. Mirror is the opposite of a mask, right? Mirror is reflecting back, is showing. The mask is hiding behind the mask, right? So anartha nivriti is basically that, no? Cleansing false values, deconstructing false values means not so much I chant Hare Krishna and all shortcomings disappear magically. But I chant Hare Krishna and I start to see the dust for what it is, and I'm willing to consciously confront that, work on that, heal that, integrate that, discern about that, and discover who I actually am behind the dust. I have the courageousness, willingness to engage in that battle, if you want to call that battle. It is. No wonder Bhagavad Gita is written in a spoken a battlefield. So sincerity, for most of us, I will say, begins there, right? With the willingness to be shown what we need to be shown, and then to show up after being shown what we have been shown, and not hiding, not running away, not putting masks, not trying to pretend we are something we know we are not trying to impress others with religious masks, which are the most effective masks, which provide the most effective masking effect. Because religious mask looks very pretty, very pious, very holy, very sacred, religious robes, everything. No, it still is a mask, right? So, as Sam is mentioning, the example of the kintsugi, right? I'm not hiding my crackings. Like Leonard Cohen will say, there is a crack in everything. That's where the light gets in. I don't know if you heard that song. So the crackings allow light to get in. They are not necessarily bad. In the kintsugi art, a pot is broken, filled with cracks. You don't throw it away. You fill the cracks with liquid gold. You highlight the crack. The crack becomes part of the story. It's a sacred scar. Samskar. Sacred samskar. So being sincere basically means that. That's what Krishna asked Arjuna to do in the 3rd chapter of the Gita, when he tells him, it's better to perform your duty imperfectly than to perform someone else's duty perfectly. Basically saying, be yourself, as broken as you are, but be yourself, please. Be sincere. And then he says, before that, and Srila Siddha Maharaj translate that in his own words, sincerity is invincible. So when you chose to show up from a place of sincerity, you are basically invincible. No one can defeat sincerity. No one can defeat someone who's willing to see what needs to be seen, who's willing to show up as honesty as possible. That's undefeatable. That's eternal promised victory to such a person. And that's what a devotee is supposed to be. And that's why Krishna says, Nami Bhakta Pranashati. My devotee will never perish. Assuming that a real devotee is someone who is sincere. So if you are sincere, you will never perish. Even if you have ups and downs. Even if we are thick and thin. Not focus and distraction. All that stuff, all that messiness, the beauty and the messiness in the life of a sadhaka. That's fine. That's part of the glorious journey. As long as you are sincere. No? Krishna is not so much about be perfect. No? Be impeccable. Be sincere. Be sincere. But I'm messy. Be sincere in your messiness. But I'm up and down. Be sincere in your up and down. Be sincere. No? That's important qualification. Not so much any other thing. Performing perfectly, doing that. Be sincere. Be vulnerable. Another way of using the word, vulnerable. Be willing to embrace whatever you are. And be willing to show up courageously as you are. Still as an unfinished product, if you want, that's fine. But be sincere. No need to hide, basically. No? That's the whole intention with the Gopi Bastra Harana Lila, right? When Krishna is stealing the clothes of the gopis, which comes right before the Rasa Lila. So Rasa Lila is kind of the climax of all Leelas, like the culmination, the consummation of divine love. Like that's also a symbol for the consummation of divine love. What's Gopi Bastra Harana Lila coming before? Krishna is still in the clothes of the gopis, leaving them naked and calling them to present to himself naked. You can draw the teaching from that and not just read that literally. And the gopis go to him covering her intimate parts, still hiding somehow. We can see ourselves approaching Krishna that way sometimes. He's calling us, come to me sincerely, come to me nakedly, and we are still trying to hide so many parts, masking. And Krishna said, put all those masks down. We don't need them here. They're not necessary. They're getting in between each other. That's what Krishna says to the gopis, right? They're covering their breasts, their intimate parts. Jokingly say, you have offended the Yamuna by bathing naked. Now you have to beg forgiveness to the Yamuna by putting your two hands up top of your head. No? Like implying all those hiding devices that we were trying to figure out, throw all of them out of the window, right? And then eventually that leads to the Rasa Lila. That leads to the consummation in divine love. So that's another way of speaking about the sincerity. Approaching the divine and approaching each other with as many masks as we can. At least the masks that we can see as masks, again. Because there are many masks that we don't see them as masks. We see them as my core identity. But when you remove the masks that you see as masks, probably you will gain awareness of the other masks that you don't see them as such. Like when we may not know what's in our subconscious mind, but we know what's in our conscious mind, and we need to do something about it. No, it's not so much how to work with my subconscious. First, work what you're already aware of and you are not working on. And when we do that, what's in the subconscious mind will become more evident and more conscious, and then we can work on that. And then the next layer of subconscious mind will go to the conscious, and so on and so forth. And that's how we become enlightened, how we gain full awareness of what's actually going on in all parts of my being. But it begins in the here and now, in the immediate. What do I know? Let's put it briefly and basically. What do I know I have to change and I'm doing nothing about it? What do I know I'm doing that is creating trouble and suffering for others? I'm not doing anything about it. What do I know I should be more honest and sincere about it, and I'm not doing it? Not with guilt and shame in a toxic way, just invoking responsibility and taking the step and showing up. And then that will bring the next layer and the next layer, till all masking is gone. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam. That's the definition of bhakti, on which Rupa Goswami built his own definition of bhakti, Anyavilasita Sunyam. Sarva upadi vinirmuktam. Be completely, absolutely free from all masks, in my language, from all upadis, from all false sense of identity. That's bhakti in its ideal. We may not be there yet, but we know that's the ideal we should go through. So this is not about adding new masks in the name of bhakti. That's a potential anartha, tarangarangini, that can happen, bhakti uta anartha, but that's not about it. It's about a festival, not of adding masks, but a festival of throwing masks out of the window. gradually. So a few words on sincerity. We could say so much more, but I don't want to take absolutely much more time from you. And we can go one more time for a few minutes to a final breakthrough room. Hopefully at this point we can have some breakthrough together and discuss, turn this idea of sincerity. What does sincerity mean for us at this stage of our journey? And what we are called to embrace at this stage of our journey? How sincerity is inviting me, how sincerity looks like for us, or should look like for us at this stage of the journey. So see you in a few minutes for the official farewell till the next week. Welcome back again, you all, and seeing your smiling, beautiful faces. I trust you had a nourishing time together. Thank you so much for, again, being available, becoming available for our weekly sharing, sincerely showing up, expressing your free will for ever greater unity. Trying to put all the questions and answers a little bit in the last sentence of our meeting today. Looking forward to see you next Saturday. We will be returning to the normal time, which I think is an hour earlier than when we meet today. Normal time for you. I hope normal time for me. I'll be back in the US, but with 18-hour jet lag. So pray that I will be able to be awakened and alive for the time we meet next Saturday. Meanwhile, we'll continue enjoying the beautiful time here with our Kiwi brothers and sisters in New Zealand. And may you have a blessed conclusion of the week, blessed beginning of the next one. Srimad Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Gaudiya Vaishnava Guru Parampara ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Sadhu Sangha ki jai, Gaur Premanand Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.